Hey y'all, it's Scarlett. I know my camera angle and like distance is always changing in my lighting, but it's just because I'm trying to get the hang of this and figure out, the best angles and everything like that. But just bear with me. I'm trying. So today I wanted to do a get ready with me and talk about what it's like to have autoimmune disease. In my spina bifida videos, I didn't do any get ready with me stuff, but since this is a beauty channel, sort of, not really, but since I am into beauty, let's put it that way, and since I use it as a coping mechanism for dealing with the many health issues, trauma issues, stress, those kinds of things that I face every day, I thought it would be a great way to incorporate it into my channel. Plus, I feel like it's more interesting to do a get ready with me and talk about it than it is to just like watch me sit here and talk. So, I probably am not going to discuss the products that I'm putting on my face very much because that's going to distract me from the topic at hand. And I'm very distractible. And I have a lot of issues with my memory due to the fibro. So, I'm going to do this the best that I can. This is my third attempt to film this, I believe. Yes, it is. It's my third attempt to film this because I just am not good at it. I guess practice makes better. I don't believe practice makes perfect. So here we go. We're going to try one more time. And if this one sucks, I think it's probably going to go up anyway. So fair warning. But, okay, so autoimmune disease. First of all, what is that? For me, autoimmune disease is psoriasis. That's what I was diagnosed with. But it's bigger than just a skin disorder. Psoriasis is largely known as a skin disorder to most people. And that's not all it is. And I'm going to back up a little bit because I feel like I'm too close to my camera. And I feel like I don't have enough room for my little tray down here that I have my makeup on. So, I'm going to, okay, adjust, right? Sometimes you just have to adjust. And my glasses are always crooked. I've noticed in like every video, my glasses are crooked and I don't know what to do about it. I try to fix them. I don't know what it is. It'll just have to be okay. Is that better? Who even knows? Okay, well, autoimmune disease is basically, it's inflammation. Your body just becomes inflamed because most people know by now that you get a fever when you're sick because your body's raising your temperature to fight the infection that you have. And when you have autoimmune disease, your body raises its temperature and produces inflammation when you're not sick. There's some kind of mechanism that causes it to believe that you're sick even when you're not. And for me, it happens when I get stressed out. It happens if I eat certain foods. And it happens if I am sick. If I get mostly it's if I've had surgery or if I have some kind of injury. It's not usually because I have a cold or the flu or anything. Because I think I feel bad enough if I have a cold or the flu. I may not even be able to tell that I'm actually having an autoimmune flare while I'm sick with that. I'm not sure, but I can usually tell after a surgery or with an injury when I've broken my leg, because I've done that a few times. And we can go into the symptoms later, but for me, the diagnosis is psoriasis. I've talked about how I have it on my face. I have a patch here on my elbow. It's not very bad at all. Like mine is very mild, and I have like the teeny tiniest little patch over here. And that's really, those are the only places I have it anymore. I was getting it behind my ear again, but it went away when I started Stellara. So I'm grateful for that. And I already have on my base makeup. I've done my moisturizer and everything like that, and all I've put on is like BB cream. So I'm going to start putting on my face products while I talk to you guys. But so I got psoriasis, or autoimmune disease. I'm going to refer to it as autoimmune disease because for me it's more than just the skin disorder. I got that when I was 8 years old. I had broken my leg. As I said, I've done that a couple of times. I've broken my left femur 6 times. Yes, I know that's a crazy number. It is shorter than my right leg, and like my hip socket is higher. That's what the issue is. And it just kind of lands wrong and snaps like a twig. It's not fun at all. I broke it for the first time when I was 6, and then when I was 8, I was just walking across my living room, and I fell. And one leg went in one direction and the other leg went in the other direction. And I kind of just, did like a split. Like most people would be fine. I was not. I actually had a spiral break that time. This is the downside of arthritis, and that's a side effect of having autoimmune disease. I can't even get my freaking eyeshadow palette open. But yes, I'm actually using something out of my eyeshadow palette for my blush today, because this is my Pan That palette. And I haven't used it this month except for once, so figured I would get some use out of it today and use it as my blush. And I am going to use it on my eyes. But it was a spiral break, so basically that means if you're squeamish, you might want to put your hands over your ears. The bone twisted apart, and it wasn't pretty. Very painful. Just not fun. And I had to go to the hospital and have surgery. I had to have pins put through the femur, and I had to have there were 4 pins from my hip to my knee, and I was in a body cast. So my entire left leg was in a cast, and my right leg was in a cast down to my knee, and then it went up to my waist. And because I had pins in it, I could actually get up and walk with a walker, and that was pretty cool. I wasn't forced to stay in bed the whole time, so I was pretty happy about that. Because the breaking it the time before, there was none of that walking around thing. But, the pins had stabilized my leg. So, it was fine. And my orthopedic surgeon had known me for 8 years at this point. He did surgeries on me from the time I was a baby. And I don't even know how many surgeries he had done on me at that point. I don't know how many surgeries I've had. We lost count. And it doesn't matter anyway. I don't get a cookie because I've had a certain number of surgeries. I don't get a medal. I don't get anything. There's no reward for the number of surgeries I've had. Suffering is not a competition. And I don't see the point in keeping up with it anymore. I know I've had 20. But I also know that I've had more than 20. I can count the scars from 20 at least. And I know what those scars are for and what those surgeries were for. And then I've had north of 20, south of 30, I believe. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Just in case you care. But, so anyway, while I was in the body cast, healing for 3 months, and I broke my leg on the last day of June. So like not even halfway through the summer. And it's South Georgia. I broke my leg at like the worst time that you can break your leg in the South. So anyway, I was healing from surgery, and I started getting those little red spots on my neck. And we didn't know what they were. I'm gonna have to take off my glasses, and I'm gonna hold up this little mirror on the back of my brush, so that I can see what I'm doing. But I'm gonna put on my eye primer. But I started getting these little red spots on my neck, and we didn't know what they were, and they didn't really hurt or anything. They were just spots. We didn't, think much of it. It was just, they weren't bothering me, and we couldn't really get me to a doctor because I was in a body cast, and getting me to my checkups for my leg was kind of stressful enough on me. So after when I went to get the cast cut off, and the pins taken out while I was awake, not my best decision. I decided to get them taken out while I was awake instead of having them taken out under anesthesia, because I didn't want to have to wait longer. And I was 8 years old. I did not realize how much it was going to hurt. One of my great regrets. Anyway, but I mean, it's kind of six in one hand and half a dozen in the other, because being put to sleep again probably wouldn't have been good for me either. So, whatever, you live, you learn. You hopefully make better choices. And so, anyway, he was cutting Mr. Ralph. Mr. Ralph is the man who put on my casts and then took them off. Bless his sweet heart. Oh, that man. He had to hear me scream. I do not envy Mr. Ralph. But he accidentally burned me with the saw when he was cutting off the cast. And it was really unusual for that to happen. That was the first and only time that happened. It never happened again, and it had never happened before. It was just a fluke. Sometimes they just get a little bit too close to you, and the heat from the saw made a little burn on my side. I was fine. And that spot, though, turned into a big spot, big scaly red patch. And the spots on my neck were getting worse. And so we went to see my doctor, and he referred us to a dermatologist. And I was diagnosed with psoriasis. And so that started a journey to heal me. By the time I was 10, my skin was kind of eating me alive. The psoriasis spread very quickly. It went from just a few spots here and there to just everywhere, head to toe. Scalp, neck, shoulders, underarms, back, huge patch on my stomach, that patch on my hip, on my knees, on both elbows, really bad. And it was very red, very inflamed. Had it on the palms of my hands. And I used a wheelchair a lot of the time at that point. I walked around my house, but I used a wheelchair when we went shopping, and I used a wheelchair at school. So it was not fun to use a wheelchair and have psoriasis on the palms of your hands. And, I had it on my face, I had it between my nose and my lips like I have it now, but it was a little bit worse. I had it there, and then that went away for a few years, and then now it's back. But yeah, I had it there and on my nose, and it was crawling up the side of my nose, and I was kind of miserable. The arthritis was starting to set in too. I don't know why, but For some reason, when your immune system is out of control, it eats your cartilage. That makes zero sense to me. Like, why is my own body eating my cartilage? Like, what? It's highly counterproductive, okay? Like, why are we doing that to ourselves? What? I don't know. If I could sit my immune system down and have a talk with it, I would not be in the shape that I am in today. I'm telling you. So, anyway, that happened. I was in bad shape. And so the first treatment that I remember was we started doing PUVA treatments. Well, okay, first we started steroid ointments. And my parents, I was stripped down every night in front of my dad, in front of my mom. I was like 10. It didn't really matter to me. And I didn't really grasp modesty at that point, just because I'd had so much done to me medically that modesty wasn't an option in a lot of situations. So because I knew my dad had to help my mom, I wasn't embarrassed about it, and he didn't make a big deal out of it either. You know, I was very young, and you know, my dad is a good enough man that he did not sexualize a 10-year-old child. So there was nothing weird about him helping my mom medicate me. So he did, and we did that for a while, and then we went to PUVA treatments because it was just spreading. Like, it was helping the patches not be as thick, but it wasn't stopping the spread of the patches. They were just popping up everywhere. By the time I was 10, like in the winter time, I could not grip a pencil. I could not sneeze without splitting my bottom lip open. It was miserable. Everything was so dry. So we decided to go to a different treatment. We switched to the PUVA treatments, and that's when I took some medications. I would take them at school, and then I would go and get in the tanning bed after school at my dermatologist's office. And the medication helped me absorb UV rays, because they're supposed to be really good for psoriasis, and they can be in certain amounts. But, fun fact, if you get a sunburn, you will get psoriasis in that spot. Because, well, sometimes you will. It just depends on, you know, your unique case of it. And I got sunburn and got spots, got psoriasis spots. That's where this came from. And then I have a red kind of scar on my cheek from where I had it over here. But yeah, I did PUVA treatments. I had to wear dark glasses for, I want to believe it was 48 hours while the medicine was in my skin, so that my eyes would not absorb UV rays and I wouldn't go blind at 10 years old. So it was pretty intense. And then I thought something fell off my tray, but I don't think it did. And I wouldn't be able to see it if it did because I'm blind. So maybe those glasses didn't help so much after all, right? I have a very strong glasses prescription. I'm like -7 in both my eyes. -7, -6 point something in the other eye. It's bad. Like bats can see better than I can, or they can actually detect things better than I can, because at least they have sonar. I don't. So anyway, PUVA treatments, did those for a year. Wasn't really helping. So my dermatologist kind of figured out that my case wasn't just one of those cases where you have a skin disorder. Mine was actually like autoimmune. Like we're gonna have to pull out the big guns on this one. So I started a medication called methotrexate. And methotrexate, for those who don't know, is a form of chemotherapy. I took a very small dose of it, and I took it orally to start off with, and it helped a good bit. And then since it wasn't fully putting me into remission, there was an experimental drug on the market called Tegacin, and my dermatologist wanted to try me on it because my case was just so bad. My psoriasis was just so bad that we were going to have to treat it from the inside out. And my mom, bless her heart, had to sign papers before I could go on this medication saying that she was aware that if I took this medication, I would never be able to be a blood donor, an organ donor, or have children. And the reason why that is because it does suppress the immune system, and it dissolves in the fatty cells, fatty tissue cells. And so Tegacin could still be in my system. We don't know, like, nobody knows. But basically it was going to damage me to the point that nobody else would be able to use my organs, my blood, and my eggs would be irreparably damaged. Also, if I give blood and a pregnant woman receives that blood, she could have a miscarriage. So this is pretty intense stuff. This is not, just your run-of-the-mill illness. And so my mom had to sign those papers. She knew the ramifications, but they had already been told by doctors that me having children was really not really something I should try. And I mean, kind of in my 30s now, I'm kind of like, duh, because my body just is not in any kind of shape for that kind of burden. Pregnancy is rough, y'all. I mean, it's hard on the body. So my body can barely sustain me, much less another life. And this was just spina bifida. Like, this was before the autoimmune disease. So my parents knew that me having a baby was like it was not really a good idea. And back then, this was the early 90s, so harvesting and freezing your eggs was not a thing, and surrogates were not a thing. So we never would have thought of that, and that would have been friggin' expensive too. And plus, my eggs were already, there's no telling what kind of genetic material is in those things, because I won the genetic lottery. So I don't think I would biologically want to have children anyway if I had the option, because I don't think I'd want to pass on or potentially pass on what I have. So yeah, I mean, I've made my peace with it. I still grieve some days. I mean, there was definitely a grief period for sure. Like, I'm not going to act like it's all sunshine and roses. It was not. And I will talk about that in another video. I'm fully intending to talk about what it's like to be a woman who cannot have children biologically. And anyway, so that was hard on my mom, and she's felt a lot of guilt over the course of my life just for that decision. But what was she supposed to do? My skin was eating me alive, and I was miserable. The arthritis was setting in. There was nothing else for her to do. Like, that was literally the only decision she had. And I know that. And I never really resented that decision. There were times when I probably, gotta blow the dust off this palette, yo. There were times when I not really resented the decision, but just grieved what might have been, I guess. So that was hard, especially when I started dating and guys didn't want to date me because I couldn't have kids, but that's another topic for another day. So anyway, went through that. I went into remission, and they do call it remission, with the help of methotrexate and Tegasin. And then I ended up having to come off of Tegasin because people died. I don't know what they died from, but it was banned in the U.S. because people died. And that's a pretty negative side effect, if I do say so myself. Death. Nobody really wants to take a medicine that causes you to die. Even though, I guess it's kind of a toss-up though, because autoimmune disease is killing you anyway. So I guess it's just a race to see which one's going to kill you faster. Maybe Tegasin just kind of kills you faster. But it was taken off the market, and I was kind of left just taking methotrexate. But it was in my system for long enough and had done enough for me that my psoriasis stayed in remission. And the methotrexate just kind of kept it under control. So I had to end up switching from the oral methotrexate to the shot because I got to the point where I couldn't swallow the pills anymore. It made me really sick. It's chemo. So I was very susceptible to the side effects. I spent all weekend nauseated. This is for several years throughout high school. All weekend I was nauseated. I had no social life. I threw up all weekend, had a terrible headache. It was like having a hangover without the drinking. It was pretty rough. I was sensitive to light and sound and all of that, and just kind of miserable until it wore off on actually Tuesdays. I often did not go to school on Mondays because I still had it in my system from Friday night. And I didn't feel well on Mondays. I felt like utter crap. So that went on through high school. And then I was able to go on Enbrel because they created biologics. Hallelujah. And I'm looking for a specific brush and I can't find it. I was really thrilled about being able to come off the methotrexate because as much help as it was kind of a nightmare. So it's one of those things like a catch-22, it's like helping in one way, but it's hurting in another way. But that was the option that I had. So I went on Enbrel. It worked wonders. I was able to stay on it. It was like a shot every week. Yes, it was a shot every week. And then I was on that for several years. Then it kind of lost its potency because that happens. And I switched to Humira. And then that lost its potency because it happens. That was a bi-weekly shot. So it was 2 shots a month instead of 4. So, we're moving up in the world. It's getting better and better. And so I was on Humira for a long time, and then it stopped working, and I went off of it, and then I was off of treatment for quite a while because I had a lot of life happening. I needed to have a surgery, and stuff kept happening to put off the surgery, and I can't be on a biologic when I have surgery. So it just, I don't know, I was off of treatment for a while. And it was actually a couple of years. And in those couple of years, I ended up having 6 surgeries, I believe. So, I mean, I did use the time wisely, which is good. But, I mean, let's see, a couple of them were unexpected and then a couple of them were planned. But, so I did make use of that time. Then, and this is while I was like in college trying to get my undergrad degree, and oh boy, it was a time. But I was off treatment for a long time, and then I was trying to find something to naturally help with my symptoms, while I couldn't be on medication. And I discovered the Autoimmune protocol, which is a diet. And that's when I discovered that I actually have food allergies. And when I eat gluten or soy, I have an autoimmune flare. It would have been really nice to know that when I was 8. Because maybe if I had known that when I was 8, I could have avoided a knee replacement when I was 29. Not saying that I wouldn't have had to have the knee replacement eventually, but maybe I wouldn't have had to have it at 29. And when I say that I needed a knee replacement, I'm not exaggerating. When the orthopedic surgeon saw my x-rays, I heard him outside the door and he went, "Holy moly," because I had 0 cartilage in my knee. 0. I had none left. And I was 29. So it was severe arthritis for sure. And he kept, during the appointment, my other orthopedic surgeon had retired, so this was a new guy. And I break him in right. But during the appointment, he kept looking at me and looking at my knee and looking at me and looking at my knee like, "How are you conscious?" I don't know. I have a high threshold for pain, okay? Yes, I did put it off a year longer than I should have because I knew I needed it done, but I didn't want to have another surgery. I just wasn't emotionally ready, okay? Sometimes you're just tired of having surgery and you're just tired of being in the hospital. So I put it off for a year. Sue me. I should have had it done sooner. And the people in physical therapy were shocked at how willing I was to get up and do exercises and stuff like that, because what they did not realize was that I was in so much less pain after the surgery than I was in prior to the surgery, that, I felt like a brand new woman. It was amazing. And yeah, it is kind of a tough recovery. A joint replacement is not an easy surgery, and I won't pretend like it is. But it was, it was a lot easier than trying to deal with a joint that has no cartilage in it. I'll tell you that much. So, anyway, the autoimmune protocol, I kind of want to go over that, is a diet where it's an elimination diet. Most people with autoimmune disease discover that they are allergic to some kind of combination of foods that are not fruits, vegetables, or meat. So basically, the elimination diet starts with no grains, no nuts, no seeds, no coffee, no chocolate, no caffeine, no nightshades, which are peppers and tomatoes and eggplant and potatoes. No sugar. They want you to cut out sugar. Did I do that? I did not. No dairy. No anything else that's not a fruit or a vegetable or meat. And like, I mean, some people can't even eat eggs because chickens eat grain and they have to eat grass-fed beef. I don't have to do that. Like, I don't eat a ton of meat anyway. I eat a lot of vegetables. So, and I can eat grains that do not contain gluten. I can't eat wheat, rye, or barley, but I can eat other grains. So that is a place where I got to cut a break. And soy is in everything. So yeah, that one's rough. But as long as I like cook at home and I read allergy menus and stuff like that, I'm usually okay. So I'm grateful for that. And once I discovered the autoimmune protocol, it did change my life. Like, I had a lot fewer flares because I can even still have flares on medication. Like, I just had one last week and I had my Stellara shot on the 15th. So, you know, it's not a cure-all. It just suppresses. It doesn't take it away. And it's, you know, when I have a flare, I have severe digestive issues because your immune system is in your gut. It's in your colon. And I get very serious, they call it irritable bowel syndrome, but I get like irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. It's related to the autoimmune disease. So I consider it all autoimmune disease. Like, I don't have a separate thing that causes irritable bowel syndrome. It's just an autoimmune issue. And then because I have a bladder made out of part of my colon, it spasms. And that's fun because that causes urine to shoot out of it randomly. Everybody wants that, right? Then I have migraines sometimes. I have sinus inflammation. I have joint pain. I have, what else? Fatigue. Fatigue is a big one. Sometimes I literally cannot get out of bed because I am too exhausted. Literally exhausted. Cannot get out of bed. Don't want to. Not physically capable. So that's loads of fun. Are you seeing a pattern here? Like, psoriasis and autoimmune disease are just the most fun things I have ever dealt with in my life. They're amazing. So I'm going to put my glasses back on for a second and try to find my lip liner. Because, you know what? I think it might have fallen off. That might have been the thing that fell off earlier. Did you fall off, lip liner? You did. That's what happened. And my eyebrow pencil. Okay. Found those. Yeah, okay. So we're good now. And I can put my glasses back on because the eye look is done. I'm going to line my lips and then... Does anybody else do that trick? Where you know, do that? So... flares are bad, but can be avoided. I try to keep my stress down. I try to eat the way I'm supposed to. Although gluten is so good. Like, gluten-free food is only consumed out of necessity. Like, nobody should eat gluten-free food by choice. Like, unless you have a gluten allergy. Like, and that is your option. If you have the option to eat gluten, eat the gluten. Eat it. Because it's amazing. Eat my share for me. Because I can't eat it. So please, please let me live vicariously through you and eat my gluten for me. Nobody should avoid it if they don't have an allergy. There's no reason to. That's ridiculous. I don't understand why people don't understand gluten allergies more. But I don't know. Whatever. It's become this new like fad diet thing, and it's not. It's a food allergy. Like, I just think that's ridiculous. So if people want to know more about the autoimmune protocol, if they want meal ideas or things like that, I'd be glad to post things like that on my channel. I am more than happy to help anybody who wants more information about it. It is really helpful because some people either can't afford the medications because, I mean, they are friggin' expensive. Like my Humira and Embro were each $2,000 a month. And I just happen to have access to amazing health insurance because due to my medical condition, I'm able to stay on my dad's insurance. We have appealed for me to stay on my dad's insurance because nobody else will offer me health insurance. And I live in Georgia where the Medicaid sucks. I can't even get my teeth cleaned. The only service that Medicaid will pay for in Georgia is extraction. So they may pay for x-rays and an exam and then an extraction. So my tooth has to be rotting so badly that it needs to be pulled before I can have dental intervention. Because Georgia. But yeah, so anyway, my makeup is on and my story is pretty much told. I do want to put a little wax in my brows because my hairs get a little unruly. So I have to tame them. If you have any questions, feel free to put them below or contact me. I'm glad to answer questions. If this was incoherent babble, I apologize. It was, my first official get ready with me talking about autoimmune disease or talking about a health topic. And I may further later discuss how having autoimmune disease has affected me emotionally. But for the most part, it's the physical stuff. I'll probably discuss how having everything I have affects me emotionally down the road. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a like, please, so that I know. And let me know if you'd like for me to do more of these. If you like this style of this is what it's like to be me videos. And I will definitely have some more content up of more Project Pan updates, more, probably product reviews, get ready with me's, or palette bingos. I'm not really 100% sure what all I'm going to put up on my channel this year. But if this was something different that you liked, please let me know. And I will catch you later. And I hope that you're well until then.